you're going to go first.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Really thrilled to see so many people here for tonight's town hall. My name is Al Bond. My name is Al Bond, and I am the executive director here at the Avalon Foundation. We do this project in partnership with the Town of Spy, and they've been so important to us in a lot of ways, but certainly we are interested in getting everybody's views out in a way that is well managed, and we looked around and saw a need, and so here we are. The Avalon Foundation does not endorse any political candidate. We are completely neutral, but we think democracy is a good thing, so that's why. So we've done a number of these now, and at every single one, Craig Fuller, who is a longtime contributor at The Spy, has been the moderator, and so he's done such a good job, we won't let him leave. So anyway, please welcome all of our candidates and Craig Fuller. They're going to take it over from here.
Thank you, Al. Thank you very much. Special thanks to Al Bond and also to Dave Whelan at The Spy. This is something that we've now done several times. Thank you all for coming. Those of you seated below me and those of you seated above me, it's a great crowd here. There's an audience watching this broadcast simulcast, and it's going to be recorded and available as well after this program in both The Spy and at the Avalon. This is an evening where you get a chance to get to know, if I do my job, to get to know these candidates a little bit better. Frankly, I admire all of them for what they're doing. It's not easy in this time to go out there and put your name on the ballot and campaign for office, and we should be grateful that they're as interested as they are, that they bring the energy to this task. I've enjoyed watching interviews and reading comments, but we're getting close to Election Day on May 6th, so this is a special evening. And what we're going to do is let them do a brief self-introduction. Then we will have a conversation over about maybe 50 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up for questions. We have a microphone, or we will have a microphone down here that you can step up and ask questions. Please keep the questions short so that we can get a few more in. And I think you'll find it interesting. We did something kind of special this time around. We actually went to the community Sunday and Monday in The Spy with a survey, and people responded, and a lot of great questions and information flowed from that, which I'm going to tap into tonight. So again, thank you for coming. With that, let's get started. Lynn, I think I'll start with you. Short self-introduction.
My name is Lynn Keefe. I am newer to the Talbot County area. I grew up in Washington State. And moved to Virginia and raised my 4 children there with my husband. And now we have owned property in Talbot County in Easton for a little over 8 years. We love it here. We've just seen things change in the last 8 years, so we're excited to be a part of that change. Good things and maybe not so good things. So I'm ready to not be a politician. I'm not the best speaker. I'm not a politician. I'm your neighbor. I'm your voice. That's who I am. I don't have a big speech planned. It's just, I'm a mom, and I'm here for the people in my ward, just to speak up for you and be transparent and kind of get city council cool again. I mean, I want people to start being engaged. I want people to understand what ward they're in. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Lynn. Robert.
My name is Robert Rankin. I've been a Ward 2 resident for 13 years. But I have a long family history on the Eastern Shore. My grandfather was from Oxford, and so I visited the Eastern Shore in Easton throughout my entire life. Professionally, I'm a consultant. I've worked for over 20 years managing trade associations, which are a type of nonprofit organization in Washington. About a year ago, I decided to make a drastic career change because I wanted to work more locally with people here in town, also to be around for my kids who won't be in the house that much longer. And so this opportunity arose, and I thought it would be a great way for me to become engaged and utilize my skills to support the ward and the residents. I am running because I want to serve Easton and all of its residents. I've had a great 4 months campaigning and meeting folks and hearing feedback from everybody about what's important to them, and I look forward to hopefully being able to continue to do that as serving as the Ward 2 representative.
Thanks, Robert. Don?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thanks to the Avalon and Talbot Spy for putting this on. My name is Don Abbatiello. I'm running for Town Council President. I've been serving as the Ward 2 representative for the last 6 years. Before that, for the last 27 years, I've been a school teacher, public school teacher, and I've also been a volunteer firefighter here in Easton since 2009. My wife and I moved here in 2007, and we have loved living here. Both of our children went to public school here, and we're really in love with this town. And I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing to serve it for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks. Frank?
My name is Frank Gunsallus, and I'm the Town Council President. I live not far from here off of Washington Street with my wife Irina and our daughter Maria, and we have another one on the way due in August. And I grew up here. I graduated from Easton High School in 2006. That's why I'm wearing an orange coat. And I'm running because I want to continue the build on the good work that we've been doing to make sure that the future of this town is one that we all can feel belong to and welcome in, and that we are able to safeguard it for the future generations, to create it in a way that we all see fit. So thank you for the opportunity. It's been an honor to serve the past 2 years, and I hope to do so again. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Elmer?
I'm Reverend Davis. I have 22 years of law enforcement experience, 27 years as a pastor. Currently, I am the district superintendent of the United Methodist Church. I am currently Ward 4 representative, and I've been representing Ward 4 for the last 5 years. I'm committed to enhancing the quality of life of all the individuals who we come in contact with, and it's essential to have partnership, respect, integrity, dedication, and empowerment. That's what we need, and I represent the individuals in Ward 4 10 toes down, and I represent them because they are the voice and I provide the vote. And I'm very committed to the futuristic aspects of the town of Easton, knowing that it can be better. Easton is the best place to live, work, and raise your children, and I believe that Easton residents are the most resilient people on the whole Eastern Shore. There's no better place to be. No, this is the best time to be on this council. I'm committed to Ward 4 to make a difference, and tonight is the night to express myself.
Thank you. Cameron?
Hi there. I'm Cameron Keefe. I am running in Ward 4. If you can't tell, one of these things is not like the others, and I am young. I'm 25. As I've lived in Easton, I have enjoyed myself thoroughly. However, there are things that need change. I've been given back to shoulder the burdens of my ward and not turn it on them. I want to make Easton not just survivable as it is. I want to make it livable. I want to make it a hub for communities, for small businesses, and truly a place to raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you. Moonyene?
Well, hello, everybody. I'm just delighted to see so many people here. I thank the SPY and the Avalon Foundation for pulling us together to give us an opportunity to address the community in this forum. I have been coming to Easton for many years since my father was a teacher here, and my mother taught in Virginia, and well, they both did originally, but the salaries weren't suitable, so that Daddy commuted back and forth to our home in Virginia, and Mama didn't move here. So I'm giving that as a background. So I've been coming for a long time. but from 2001 to 2008, I served on the council. And the initiatives that I brought to the council at that time, two of which are still a part of the council fabric, and I'm very delighted about that. One is affordable housing. We hear everybody talk about it, but there was a real formula for affordable housing, and I'm sure we'll get into it a little later. But that's still a part of the law, and that's on the books. The other has to do with a renovation of affordable homes, and I'm proud to say that I initiated that, and the council, the board, housing board has advised me that they have been able to help 47 families, and they're still moving along. So I'm just delighted. I'm running again because Ward 4 needs bold leadership that brings action. We don't need excuses. We don't need a lot of talk. And I think that's why they dubbed me Action Jackson, because I do believe in a kernel of effort brings about fantastic results. So I'm running again, and I hope that you can see fit to support my candidacy.
Thank you very much. Great opening remarks. And if you haven't figured it out, what we've done is Ward 4, 3 candidates here, Ward 2, 2 candidates there, and our 2 candidates for president in the middle. And I'm going to start with the 2 of you. You know, one of the things that popped up in the community survey, rather large, frankly, is a question that is on the minds, I think, all of us, particularly at the national level, but this is the local level, and the issue is civility. The question came up and was raised in different ways. I know it's something that you've all discussed and thought about, but what I wanted to ask, I'll start with Frank and also then Dawn, as the 2 candidates running for president, it seems to me there is kind of an extra obligation to ensure civility in the conduct of the council. And, so 2 questions. One, do you think this is a legitimate concern by the people within Easton? And if you think it is, what could you do as president to try to instill civility or greater civility in the conversations that take place in the council? Frank.
Certainly. Well, if it is a concern of the people, then it is legitimate, first and foremost, and it is well-founded given the current political climate. I believe in the past 2 years, the council members overall have been almost always conducting themselves in a civil manner. There are times where debate may get heated. That is the nature of democracy. And that is quite all right. And as the president, the biggest part, or one of the more important parts, is the engagement with the citizenry, especially during the public comment section, because people come in and sometimes they're very upset and they have serious grievances, and they have the right to come and express that. And I love when they do, even when it's not always very positive towards me. I do appreciate it, and I like it. I do love that about this country, and I think that that's great. The important thing as president is knowing when the conversations have gone too far and when it's proper to interject and perhaps provide a warning for someone who may be impugning someone's character, and then allow them the opportunity to continue. So it is of utmost importance to have that civility and to have that dialogue with the citizenry, and I cherish it. It's one of my favorite parts. So having the civility within the council has allowed us to accomplish many of the great things that we have done in the past 2 years. Thank you.
Thanks. So Don, you've seen this firsthand too. Do you think it's a legitimate concern, and what could you do about it if you were to be president?
I definitely think it's a legitimate concern. In fact, I've made it one of the parts of my campaign is to stress civility. One of the things I've said numerous times to people is that we can disagree without being disagreeable. There are a lot of different ideas in this town. This town is a very diverse town with different opinions. And as council president, two of the things I would focus on, one is giving people an opportunity to share their concerns freely. I think that that's really important. The other thing that we need to do as a council when it comes to civility is working together, building a consensus, because people see how we act at a council meeting. And it's not just the residents that see that, it's potential businesses that would like to come to town. It is, residents of the town who, want us to accomplish things. And if we are sitting there arguing with one another, arguing is fine, I get it, disagreements occur, but it needs to be done in a respectful manner. And that would be one of the things that I would work on, is building that consensus among the council members to ensure that when they do see us debating, discussing, it's done in an agreeable manner.
Thanks. Moonyene, you've been on the council. Have you seen a change over time in the way business is conducted?
Yes, in a short word. I see a difference, but I also want to say this. Civility means respect for one another and our opinions. And it also means for the citizens to respect those of us who have placed ourselves in a position to represent you. And the other thing that sort of concerns me, we are afraid of a bit of a fight. And you can't be. You don't have to be rude or obnoxious, but sometimes we have very definite opinions and procedures that we would like to have anyone that's representing us to follow. And so sometimes it seems it seems a little more robust, maybe I'll say it like that, than perhaps some of you would like to see it. But don't judge the relationships. Judge the outcome. What are they fighting for? What is the real issue? Sometimes, even outside, there's so many rumors that go on. Come to the source. I'm one of these people. I'm accessible. Come to me and ask me. I will tell you. Or if I don't know, I will find out. But on the council, we didn't have at least in the past, we didn't have much interruption of one another. And there wasn't, no one was dogmatic. We had an opportunity to express ourselves and then vote. And I think that's how it should go.
Robert, I want to pull you into it because I know you have, I think, over 20 years' experience in trade associations, and I know trade association behavior can range from calm to not so calm. Do you bring any sort of special insight into how you work with the dynamics of a strong group like the group serving on the council?
Sure. Well, to start off, I learned respect at a young age, and I learned to respect others even if you disagree. Working professionally in the environment I did, there are a lot of stakeholders involved. There are clients, there are the public, there are government agencies and other stakeholders. And folks are not going to agree on every issue, and so it's important to be respectful and calm as you try to find consensus and find a solution going forward. And I think that's been a trait I've continued to hone over my professional career, and it's something I would continue to utilize on the council. And if I can just say one other thing, I appreciate that this has come up, and I appreciate the comments that have been made, and I agree with them. Personally, I'm a little disappointed that this is a topic that has to be on an agenda for a meeting like this. I think courtesy and respect should be baseline behavior for town council members. You know, this is to be a nonpartisan body, and everybody, all the residents, all the citizens are part of that body. And so I think being respectful and courteous to everybody involved in the process is, again, baseline behavior for me. And so I appreciate, again, that it came up, and I appreciate that we're talking about it. But I just had to kind of air that little personal perspective.
Fair enough. Elmer, you've mediated some difficult situations. How do you feel about this issue?
Well, I think respect is paramount, and others should be heard and appreciated and not be argumentative at a council meeting because, one, you don't know who's listening. And at the end of the day, there's probably someone listening that maybe a developer who wants to come here, and they need to know that they're coming to a place that is a workable situation. And I believe that in life, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. In this struggles that we've had on our council, I've done more learning than winning. And I think what happens is you need to, and when we have issues or concerns, I bring everything back to the goodness of the town of Easton. Whatever the argument is, at the end of the day, I collectively take information and talk about what is good in the town of Easton. So I try not to get into an affray or argument or things of that nature, never showing disrespect to anyone, because each person needs to be respected, but in such a way that I bring wisdom, because I believe that if intellect would have a conversation with wisdom, then everybody could get understanding. And so at the end of the day, I bring understanding to that kind of conversation, that I'm not a part of the conflict, but a person who brings a resolution.
Thank you. Cameron, I've heard you say that you would bring a fresh perspective. What's your perspective on civility and the discourse of work on the council?
So glad you asked. As I've been exposed to council meetings and things like that, there were many times where I would stand up after watching a live stream or walk out of the hall and been like, we're supposed to be grown adults. Like, we're supposed to actually work together and better the lives of the people in this town. And one of the things that I would like to bring is that type of common sense, you know, that footwork that's involved in order to listen to the people. I want to dismantle this ivory tower situation. How hard is it to get a hold of someone? Like, I want to take action, feet to the dirt, door knocking once a week, something like that, in order to hear from people, and then take that information, those opinions that should be appreciated, and walk in as a bold voice for my ward and handle things like adults.
Fair enough. You know, Lynn, I heard in your discussion in the Spy, fairly passionate argument for being an advocate for your ward and your people. And I think, I wonder, as you think about being a strong advocate, what role does civil discourse and civility have in terms of the role you would want to play?
Well, I've taught all my kids and many kids in Sunday school class the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. That's first and foremost. Treat your Ward 2, the way you want to be treated. Listen, you may not agree, and that's okay to say I don't agree. But if everybody on the town council agrees, that's a problem for diversity. You need opposite opinions so that you can understand. Cameron and I don't agree a lot, being a mom and son. We many times don't agree, but that doesn't mean that we aren't civil to each other, we don't listen to each other, and worked forward. Just treating people with kindness and respect. I think we all deserve that.
Thank you. Very thoughtful answers. I won't give everybody a shot at every question, but I thought there was such interest in this, it was worthwhile. Lynn, I want to stay with you. In that same interview, you were open and actually quite moving, talking about meeting people's needs and how growing up, your family needed help from the government. And I'm glad you got it. That's what it's there for.
Right.
I think that would give you the opportunity to bring to the council kind of a unique perspective, because I've always felt, I've lived here now about a decade, I've always felt that this is a community that has so much going for it, but it also has all the problems of every other community in Maryland. And I just wondered if you would reflect a little bit on your thoughts on how to meet the needs of some of those in greatest need in this community, given some of your life experience.
Well, I mean, my mom was a single mom. She got pregnant with my brother at 15. So, I mean, she worked hard to raise us kids and was raised by her, you know, until she got remarried. And, you know, when we got married, my husband and I, we did have to go on aid. He was a firefighter full time. I was a waitress. We had 4 kids, couldn't pay for things. I mean, I understand people's needs. I understand where they are. I mean, I understand, you know, not being able to pay for college for your kids. I'm the real person. I'm not wealthy. I don't come from a long line of wealth. We've blood, sweat, and tears, and lots of the Lord. That's what I'm telling you. So, I mean, I really feel like just knowing where, you know, like today, I was at Ignite Outreach all week, or all day today, and I'm there every week. And what I do there is I help underserved families with their babies and their needs that they have with counseling, prenatal labor and delivery classes. Today was a non-English speaking Bible study, and we meet the needs. I hear things that maybe you all might not, and you all hear things that I might not. And so I just feel like I have a diverse.
And do you think there's a greater role for the town government in some of this? Because we have wonderful community organizations.
We do.
Do you feel they're connected sufficiently?
We are connected with them, yes. So I'm connected with them and vice versa to reach the community. They're doing a fantastic job.
Moonyene, I want to come back to you because you talked about the need for housing. I've also heard you talk about, which interests me a lot, the importance of journeyman education. You know, giving people the skills they need to make a living. And I wondered if you would maybe take on the journeyman question. How do we properly educate people so they can make a living and stay in the community?
Okay, with the journeyman issue, we don't have sufficient opportunities for young people, or even for some of the seasoned, skilled workers who are plumbers or electricians or carpenters, for example, to participate in the economic development with those skill sets. So one of the things that I thought about was that we could give the general contractors who do have their licenses an opportunity to earn maybe tax credits if they would have an apprenticeship, so that some of the younger people who are coming out of high school or who want to pursue that line of work could be tutored under them and then go into some form of business for themselves. Also, there are those, as I said, who are already skilled, but they don't get the work, so therefore they cannot afford the costs for the licenses and that kind of thing. However, I realize that making that suggestion for them to support or tutor other skilled workers would mean maybe a conflict for them. They don't want to create an adversarial relationship where they may lose out on their own. But I think it's a creative way anyway to bring more people into the workforce and to create an opportunity. Everybody doesn't want to leave here. Everybody doesn't want to have a business of their own. They may want to work for an accomplished contractor, but this way they'll get some training on the job. The contractors who do it will get some tax credits or some other incentive that we can think about that would allow for us to create opportunities up the ladder. You know, it's getting hard out here. I think most of us know that, and that jobs are not plentiful here. There's no opportunity. Well, I won't say no opportunity, but the opportunity for the average wage earner to provide for their families and then provide decent housing. You know, and we have to face the fact that all of us live on this planet, and those of us who are here in Easton have the right to have decent, affordable housing. Now, some people are talking about attaining, what I heard on some of the interviews, you're talking about startups and all of that. That's all the same thing. That's semantics. You know, the real idea is you have enough money to pay for your home, whether you want to purchase or whether you want to rent. And we have got to provide for all people who live here. The developers are not the only ones who should benefit from the housing. You know, and I want the developers to get what they need to get, but they have to provide for all of us. And it's the town's responsibility not to have the developers continue to benefit to the detriment of the citizenry. But anyway, that's to answer your question
Thank
about
you.
the journeyman.
And actually, you traveled into the next topic I wanted to raise. Frank, let me come to you, because I know when we did this a couple years ago, housing was a paramount concern, affordable housing or housing available for people with lower incomes. There's been quite a bit of new housing developed. I just talk about the path you've been on and where you think we're headed with respect to providing housing and meet the needs of people who want to live in this community and work in this community.
Certainly. Well, the path I've been on, I guess would say began 20 years ago here when I was still in high school and hearing the same things that we're still talking about right now. We need more affordable housing. We need more starter homes. We need more workforce housing. And it's still a valid thing. And the problem is that hasn't occurred in the manner it should have. You know, a lot of the new homes that are coming in are $450,000 or higher. That's simply out of reach for a lot of people who grew up here who would like to continue living here. So, so far currently there are about 1,000 homes in the pipeline to be built that have already been approved either by the Planning Commission. About 65% of those were through that level, and the remainder was through the council, usually through a PUD process. And so we are at a point where we need to find a way to balance the growth while not neglecting the lower tier of the housing market. And so how do we accommodate that? Well, I spoke with Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman on how they are being successful with what they have accomplished to do. And I've read their legislation that they passed 2019, 2018 approximately. And there's some good solutions there, but it really boils down to one thing. And he said, Frank, the less you can build something for, the less you can sell it for. And that is true. And there are certain things that can be done and cheered for lack of a better term, by the elected officials in the town government for those who are looking to come here and offer the product that we desire. So one way is to look at how do we mitigate the upfront costs. When there are homes being built or any living unit, apartments, townhomes, there are impact fees and there are EDUs. Impact fees, you know, what you pay to connect to the stormwater and the sewage, and the EDUs go to Easton Utilities to connect to the electrical. So, you know, there are ways, and it's not exclusive one or the other, they can be in combination, but finding a way to remove that upfront cost. How do you do that? Well, we have about $1 million currently in the Affordable Housing Fund. That would cover the $50,000 roughly upfront cost associated with these fees for 20 homes. That's the difference roughly between a $250,000 and $300,000 home. That's one way. We could look at doing what Queen Anne's County does. They have a 7-year financing program backed by the bond of the county, but it's paid for by the home buyer on a monthly basis. So it spreads that out and it removes that upfront cost, but it doesn't place that fee on or burden other taxpayers. You know, and we could also look at a 5 or 10-year deferment. There are other things such as property that the town may have, since we do have some lots. You could do a land markdown, giving a piece of property away for very inexpensive. You could say, here, take this for $1, deliver this product. This is what we want, and this is what we need, and if you can do this, we would appreciate it. So those can work in combination together to accomplish that goal. And when it comes down to building for less so you can sell for less, you can do something like the following. Building a 900 square foot home with 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, no garage, no driveway, no central air. I know that's not glamorous. You know, a lot of people have expectations to have things beyond that. But I just described the house I live in. So I think that, you know, living in something like that for 5 years, which we have, and now we have a second child on the way, you know, we're going to have to reassess our situation and now figure out where we're going to move so we can have more space for our growing family. Those are the types of issues that young adults have and young families have, and that's how we as a town can try and work with them to help them be able to start off on the right foot. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. You know, you've grappled with this. Are you satisfied with the relationship between the town council and the planning commission? Is that a good relationship? What's their role in all of this? How do you see this housing issue developing?
Well, for starters, again, the Planning Commission is a group of volunteers. They're giving up their free time. They've been trained and basically make very difficult decisions, and they're not being paid for it. It's not an easy decision to make about certain developments. So, you know, what they do is not easy, and you know, I think they should be given credit for their efforts. But as far as, you know, what the town needs to look at, both the Planning Commission and the town itself, one of the biggest problems is the fact that land values are so high. All right. I live over in Matthewstown Run. Across from me is the neighborhood of Golton. And Golton used to be that starter home neighborhood, you know, for houses that were going for, when they were first built, probably $80,000, then later on $150,000. There have been houses in that neighborhood that have sold for $400,000. You can't do that with a start. You can't start out at $400,000. So one of the things the town can do, working with the Planning Commission, is take a serious look at our middle housing. Right now, middle housing is a requirement. In order to build middle housing, you need a special exception. And so what we need to do with the Board of Zoning Appeals, with the Planning Commission, with the town government, is really look at what we're doing with middle housing. My wife and I started out in a townhouse. That's middle housing. Because by building townhouses, but we of course have to be concerned about, you know, how many townhouses we're building, because growth is a major concern for people. But when we're talking about townhousing, that takes away the or minimizes that cost of that land. And so as a result, you're able to, a contractor is able to build several different townhomes and still get that money that he or she puts into it. So I think that that's something that we should be looking at, that the Planning Commission should be looking at along with the town.
Thanks. Cameron, I know you wanted to jump in.
Yeah. You're saying that issues have, or concerns rather, have been raised about growth. And one thing I want to put forward is that, you know, our elementary school is already overcrowded. You know, we have 1,027 houses in the pipeline, right? A lot of those apartments, right? No parent wants to raise a family in an apartment. You know, with the current market and rent being what it is, this is going to be a serious issue. With one of the things I would like to tackle is, and I've said it before, is like it sounds real nice, and it's a beautiful word, you know, live in Easton. It's like, we're surviving in Easton, some of us, you know? We need to recognize the issues that we have, the infrastructure problems that can come with that, the current development that is in the pipeline, halt ourselves, chill out, and not overdevelop, all right, in order to control the environment we have and not get ahead of ourselves.
Robert, what do you think about this broader question of growth within Easton, and both from not just housing, but in terms of jobs and the impact on schools and that sort of thing. How would you look at growth in Easton?
Sure. Growth is a big issue, a lot of hands and arms and legs, as we say. It impacts housing, commercial, recreational, et cetera. Development is probably the most common topic that's come up in outreach with residents. Folks are concerned about the number of units coming online and how that's going to impact traffic and schools and public safety. And so it's really important that we properly manage these developments that are coming on to make sure that those potential concerns are mitigated. I do want to add that I do think and I support the discussions that have been had at the council level to have the town council be involved in more discussions about future housing developments. I know that's happening, and I think that is a good thing, because the town council does have visibility into the residents and what their needs are, what their desires are, and so it can help complement what the town planning and zoning commission is doing. Housing development is extremely important for a lot of reasons that are already been discussed, but we want to keep young people here. We want to bring more healthcare workers here. We want to bring first responders here who can't afford to live here right now and are serving our community right now. And then we want to provide adequate housing for elderly folks as well. I hear that as well, that there's not enough access or not enough options. And so these are all big, real issues that we're facing right now. And so as a town council, I think that sort of strategic approach to, once we complete or have these projects going and get those completed and assess how that addresses some of the housing demands, we go forward being very strategic in using the comprehensive plan to identify what are those needs that we still need. Affordable housing, I expect to be one. There's a lot of options, I think, that have already been mentioned: townhomes, small houses, apartments, redeveloping existing properties to really make use of that, which might not be properly being used right now or being dilapidated, to really keep our same footprint so that we're not expanding, we're not annexing more land. I think those are important for the residential development side. On the commercial development side, in order to lure young professionals here, in order to lure healthcare workers here, we need to have, we already do have a vibrant town, downtown, but there's more we can do. Port Street being developed, providing more options downtown or in between downtown and 50. I think there are ways for the council to let folks know, let developers know, let businesses know that we want them, but we want, but to be a little, prescriptive. We don't want to overdevelop, as was said before. I totally agree with that. We want to maintain our small town feel and the fabric that Easton enjoys, but we do need to make sure that we're keeping up and that we are providing those types of amenities and options that younger folks want to have to come here, so that we have those professionals and people living here. And then finally, with development, another piece that doesn't always get discussed is sort of the outdoor recreational development. We do have a lot of great options here in town. I live on the west side of Ward 2, and so we have the rails to trails and a lot of parks and things like that. I've noticed in going around Ward 2 on the east side of 50, there aren't as many options, and maybe that's okay, but it's something I've observed, that there's a little park here, there's a little park there, but is there interest from the public in a trail similar to what we have on the west side that can connect the east side of town back to 50 and then get them across to downtown with pedestrian, friendly markings and things like that. So those are things that kind of come to mind for me when it comes to the development.
Thank you. Elmer, I want to ask you, slight change of topic, but it all relates, and that has to do with public safety, which was mentioned. You were in law enforcement, and thank you for your service for over 20 years. You work in different communities in this whole region. Are we meeting our needs with respect to public safety today? Is there more the town should be doing? And as we grow, and especially if we don't have opportunities for young people, recreational opportunities, people get in trouble. I just wondered what your perspective is for over 2 decades in law enforcement.
I think Easton is one of the safest towns on the whole Eastern Shore. We have statistical data to support that. This is a safe community, and it's a community that I'm proud to be in, because we have the police department that is committed to community policing, and they continually network in our community. They interact as well. I want to go back to something that you talked about affordable housing. The affordable housing perspective that I have is that the town should go buy a piece of land and then find a developer or work with Habitat, Humanity, or any other organization, because it's one thing to put a person in a house. You must deal with the holistic person that they are capable of managing their bills and things of that nature. So therefore, that people who work at Wawa's can get a house that's around $200,000 because the town has purchased property. I think we need to make that kind of investment for affordable housing in the town of Easton, and we will meet the needs of the individuals in our community. Back to the police department. Hey, the police chief that we have, I was a part of hiring him. He is a lawyer. He strategically thinks about things that are going on in our community. He also is working on traffic surveys, because when you build these developments, you got to worry. You don't need a traffic survey. All you need to do is go to Dover Street tonight, and you sat there long enough, and you know you sat there too long. And so therefore, we need to look at the traffic that goes on when we have these developments in our community. I think that we need to have more communications with our school system. We need more communications with our county council. It's more than just developing something. You got to do it strategically and understand all the components that go in with it. We live in the safest town, I believe, on the Eastern Shore. You can get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go for a walk, and you can feel safe. I am proud of the Easton Police Department, and that's why I'm the chairperson of the police board, and I made sure with my colleagues that they got the take-home vehicles that they need, that their salary is up. We have worked diligently on recruitment. Now we're working on retention, and in the retention plan, we're working on a retirement that is good for all the officers, that not only can we recruit at a higher level, but we can maintain them, that we can get the quality of officers who are supervisors that are seasoned enough to lead this police department. We have the best police department on the whole Eastern Shore.
Somehow I knew we were asking the right person that question. Moonyene, you wanted to go back to housing, I think?
Yeah, I did. Several things on the housing. I was sort of mystified that two of the presidents, those who are contending, said that the planning commission was the one that made the decisions on the housing that's now in the pipeline. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I understood you to say that the council didn't vote on some of it. As a matter of fact, your language was, I think that the council should be a part of the decision making. And I don't think that we should cede that kind of responsibility to the volunteers. The community elected us to make those decisions, and we have to evaluate all of the issues that should come before us. And these the volunteers, as commendable as their work is, should not be the ones to making the decision. That's very, very important, because it creates an imbalance. What they think is good and should happen may not comport with what the comprehensive plan says, or what we need in the town, or what we can afford to have, considering all the things we were talking about, growth and traffic and that kind of thing. The other thing is that when we initiated the first affordable housing, there was a formula, and it was used throughout the state of Maryland, because I did travel to various locales, and they they had the developer set aside 25% of their development for low and medium income wage earners. Now, the housing, I'm not going to go into all the description, but the housing on the outside all looked the same, but the amenities were not the same. And that was perfect for some of the young professionals who wanted to have what you call the startup. Now, low-income families, some were saying, may not feel comfortable in those particular dwellings. But we don't know, because we didn't give them a chance to determine whether or not they would be able to fit in that in a particular community. But I understand that the 25% was taking away. Now, the reason that 25% is important, because the developer continues to get the benefit of the tax credits. You know, so it's not a matter of course, the town could purchase some land, but we need to make the developers responsible also for creating the homes that they are getting benefit from through whatever formula they use to increase their profits. So I just think that we need to do that now. Some of the communities have gone up to now to 30%. I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting that we hold the developers, you know, responsible, and that the city holds them responsible, and then we can create housing. And maybe they want to buy or create tiny houses or something like that off-site, but it would still be their responsibility to have what we call a quid pro quo. You know, you get something and then you give us something. So I think that becomes very, very important, and that we have the responsibility. Like you said, there are over 1,000 in the pipeline. Why? That's my question. If we are not prepared to have those developed, we don't have the infrastructure, and we don't have the capacity to have this new growth. One last thing, when I was on the council before, we really had smart growth, and we really looked at it application by application. And some things were rejected, some things each of us wanted, but it wasn't, should not have been a part of the formula at that time. So we need to be very strategic in what it is we desire, and then how that can be implemented. But the council is accountable for that. We're responsible. It's not the planning commission.
I'm going to go to Lynn first, and I'll come to Frank. Lynn, you had a comment in your discussion of the SPY about a home and the importance of a home, and I think you used the phrase maybe starter home, and I just wanted you to reflect a little bit on this question. And Frank,
I loved what Frank and Don both said. They have great solutions. The homes that are coming in the pipeline, right now you can't rent an apartment. A one-bedroom is $1,900. That's more than my mortgage payment. A two-bedroom is $2,000 and up. So you're really hemming those people in staying there forever. How can you save money to buy a home when you're paying $2,000 for a two-bedroom apartment? So I don't think that's the solution. I think what you're doing is making people stay there forever, because they will never be able to get out. I think also we need to teach kids in high school, we need to teach that buying a home was really scary the first time. And we did have to buy a two-bedroom, one-bath. Like Frank said, we didn't have air conditioning. We had window units, but we thought, oh, we can never do this. It's so scary. But until someone walked you through it. We don't see that happening in the community anymore. So just like classes in the community and the band center, just teaching people you can own a home. You can do this. Because I didn't think at the age of 25 that I could own a home. But we did. It wasn't a lovely home, but it was fine. It wasn't renting, and I got to keep my money when I sold. And I was able to pay my taxes and feel a part of the community. And I think that's what when you're paying a rent, you're feeling like, well, I'm just paying someone else's home. It's not mine. It'll never be mine. So you need that to feel a part of your community.
Thanks. Frank, I know you wanted to comment.
Yes. I just wanted to continue on what Ms. Jackson had says. So the Planning Commission operates within the framework that was voted on by the town council. And she is right, more responsibility should come to the council level, but it's also about finding the balance too, because not everything is really worth the time of the council. If it's a 5-apartment unit, that's really not the same as something that is 100 or 200 units that can significantly alter the face of our community. But to also continue that, we did hold a workshop a month or so ago on just that, reining in the that framework and being able to try and determine when it was appropriate, based on a formula, that it should actually then kick up to the council. And so that is in works. So I just wanted to at least clarify that for everyone.
Great. Don?
And just to add on to something that Mr. Gonzalez said, we when we were having that discussion, one of the things that we focused on was the fact that redevelopment projects in town, there was a lot of, we received a lot of emails and had phone calls and conversations with residents who were concerned about the Easton Crossing project that was on Brookletts Avenue, 126 plus units, and commercial units as well. And we didn't have a say in that. And so I think that that is something that we needed to correct, and that's what we're working on doing right now. Because, again, residents sometimes can't make it to a planning commission meeting. It's held during the day. A lot of people work. By bringing in the council to have that discussion as well, it gives people another opportunity to share their concerns, to bring up their questions, and obviously another opportunity for us to take a look at the project and whether it's worth going forward on. So,
I'm going to change up the program just a little bit, because we've reached that moment in time where there's more issues than we have time to discuss, and I want to give each of you a chance to reflect on kind of what you think is among the most important issue. Also invite anybody who wants to ask a question, because we'll take some questions for a few minutes, to come up here and Jess has the microphone. What I'd like to do, and I want to start with the candidates for president, is ask you to project out to the end of a term, should you be elected to serve in it, to the end of that term. And what would you hope that people would either write or say about what you were successful at doing during this term in office? Frank, we've done this before, so I'll start with you. Think about the end of your term as president, and if there is a second term, and what would you like to see people, what would you like them to know about what you were able to accomplish?
In which scope?
What's most important? The most important thing that you would hope to accomplish in another term as president.
Thank you. So, really would think it's to continue the thought of the topic really that we were just discussing, finding ways to create real housing solutions for people who need them most, and also at the same time balancing the growth within this town and making sure that the infrastructure is matching the pace of growth. So, it is, at the end of the term, I would like to see that Frank and the rest of the council, with the mayor and staff and the community, worked together and came up with some actual solutions that are being implemented, and we can not continue this at least 2-decade-long conversation, at least that I've been hearing since high school, about needing more affordable housing. So actually getting the proof in the pudding, and that is what I'd like to see, is actual results, and that is what I intend to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Don, end of a term, should you be served as president?
well, there's a few things. First of all, one of the most important things that the town council does is handle the budget, the mayor's budget, investigating what the mayor plans on spending the money on and approving it. And so I would hope that after 4 years that we have still had no problems balancing the budget, that we have found some financial solutions and hopefully kept taxes to a minimum, and while still providing the much needed programs that the town provides its residents. That we have put together some kind of program where if a developer comes in and leads to more traffic problems, that we have something in place that the developer is actually going to mitigate those traffic problems for both drivers and pedestrians. Because I think that that's something right now that we're not doing enough of. As far as the housing crisis is concerned, as far as affordable housing, attainable housing, this is going to be a problem for us because it's a problem for everyone across the country. And I hope that we have worked together, worked with our partners, the county, the different organizations around town to try to find a solution to that. And I'm hoping that we're going to be successful with that. I also hope that we still have an amazing police department and that we've worked hard to make sure that they are competitive with everyone else, because it is kind of like an arms race when it comes to the police department. We raise salaries, and the state troopers raise salaries, and the county sheriff's department raise salaries. So we need to continue to work on that, and I hope that we will be doing that over the next 4 years. And then also, personally to me, the hope that the volunteer fire department is still a volunteer fire department. Probably one of the biggest tax increases this town will ever see is when it goes from a volunteer department to a paid department. And so we need to continue to support that volunteer fire department and make sure that they are, they have the equipment that they need, the training that they need to make sure that they're serving us and also doing it at an affordable price. So,
Robert, let's go to Ward 2. End of a first term, one or two things would you like to accomplish most?
I think the development that was discussed before is important because it has so many impacts on so many residents from a traffic and safety perspective. So making sure that the projects are completed in a way that all of those potential issues are mitigated. Impacts on schools has been discussed before. I've said before also the east side of Ward 2. I go over there and there's more growth. There's more housing being built. And you talk to folks and they're really concerned about how those developments are going to impact their ability to get back to Route 50. Right now it's a 2-lane road and on either Dover or Matthewstown, and it's challenging. And then you get beach traffic and you get more people moving here and you get more and more congestion. And to me, that is something that I would like to help address over the 4 years, is to ensure that folks who live east of Route 50 have an easier path to get back to 50, get going south on 50, getting across to get to downtown, maybe doing it in a way that doesn't involve a car. We have this great trail on the west side of town that has, bikers and skateboarders and walkers and joggers and things like that. There's not currently something like that on the east side. Again, this would need to be, publicly supported before going through with it. But I do think that some attention could be given to that side of the ward, and so that's what I focus on.
Lynn?
At the end of the term, I'd like to go back to the first question, civility. I think we need to get along better on the council, put your personal opinions aside and go for your people. That's what we're here for. If I get voted in, I'm here for my ward, for Easton, for the people as a whole. And I think that I want to engage more. I feel that there's so many people that are not involved and only complain. It's like, we want involvement. I want people to be involved. I want to hear what's going on. And I feel like I know that these people that are serving now are available, but you might not be able to make it. I'm at work every Monday night. I could never make a meeting. Granted, if I get in, I will change my Monday night to Wednesday night. But I definitely, I would never be able to voice anything. So just being able to make it more accessible to the common person, the worker that can't make the meetings, and just get that rapport. And at the end, the housing, yes, we have to work as a team. Absolutely. The police force, we got to meet with the wonderful police force, and they were great, but they're short-staffed. They kept telling us they're short-staffed. They need more. They said that, people think of police, people keep thinking it's bad, like we're bad people. We want to change the persona of who we are and what we do. I am sure that we could fill it from Easton High School. We don't have to go outside. I'm sure there's capable young men and women that can fill those spots that would be phenomenal. We need to talk them up. They also were, complaining that their wages were not the same as Oxford and St. Michael's. I was like, wow, I had no idea. So just making it more competitive and making it more appealing for those young people by the end of the term.
Thanks. Ward 4, Elmer. Another term, what would you like to accomplish?
Well, I want to accomplish that the advocacy for health care assuring that we work with our partners, the county council, to make sure that the hospital's built, that we have places for our doctors, that individuals in our community don't have to go across the bridge to have an appointment. You can get your appointment right here in the town of Easton. Also, I want to advocate that we develop an online process that each developer knows the prices, the costs. You can click online and you'll know what you're getting into even before it happens. I think it's important to continue to keep our first responders with the best resources that are available. I want to reiterate what my colleague Don Abbatiello said. We want to keep our fire department volunteer. It will be cost effective if we do that, but we want to ensure that they have the things that they need. Also, I want to make sure that we work diligently on our affordable housing initiatives. That is paramount in our community, that we can support all the people who live in this community, whether you work at Wawa's or any other place. This is the best place to live. And I also want individuals to know that at the end of my term, I want to know that you know that your voice counts. That I may sit on the council, I may vote, but I'm voting on your behalf, and everybody in our community needs to know that.
Thanks. Cameron?
One of the things I really want to accomplish, Lord willing I get in, is I want to lay bare our spending, which for government, not really a thing. And I would like to, and I might be shooting myself in the foot, strike fear into the hearts of our representatives and let them know, the money we're spending is not ours. We have to have the people of Easton's best interest in mind. We have to do the legwork. We have to make efforts in order to be connected with them, hear their struggles, their cares, and not let that fall on deaf ears as it so seems to be. So that is one thing I absolutely am immovable on, and if it takes posting our budget online, I'll do it. And making sure our police is taken care of, it's the largest budget allocation. As things come in, it's the first thing to get cut. And with the developments that are sweeping in, the growing tide, that cannot be threatened. We have an A-grade safety rating. I love that. But I want to, with every fiber of my being, protect my 2 a.m. walks and make sure that the police are well-funded, stocked, salaried, and taken care of after their time in the force.
Thanks. Moonyene.
Well, I have stated affordable housing, so I won't go into that. But I have a passion in my for work for military families. I started that work when I lived in New Jersey, and I did a lot of pro bono work, but I won't go into that. But I am very much interested in that. And one of the things that some of the veterans have said to me is that they have to go too far for medical attention. And so I would love to have a study for us to see whether or not the old site here in Easton for hospitals can be refurbished and used as a facility for medical treatment for our veterans. They're entitled to some special consideration. As far as the police department is concerned, I've had a lot of family in the police department, but I have had a real great conversation recently with Captain Wright, who's also the acting chief, he says. But he says that crime is down, except that domestic violence is up, and that takes some social work, some other kinds of counseling that may be outside of the police department, even though the crimes, have got to be handled, but the whole reason for the domestic violence has to be handled on some other levels. He said that, of course, cocaine use is still up, and that his worry was about fraud on senior citizens, you know, these scheming things. And he goes to the senior citizens building to try to discourage some of the older citizens for buying into some schemes. So I have dedicated part of my service to working with the elderly in this community, and it's all pro bono work. I also believe that we've all touched on economic development, and I've touched on that, but I also think that a thriving cultural partnership with all of the facets of the government, the county and the state, to have a culture center in the old health department that's behind the post office. And I think that it would be great to raise the contributions of the Moton School, because you know Moton is no longer there, but it was the African American school here. And as far as the Frederick Douglass initiatives in the town could be housed in that particular building. So I'm very much, and by the way, the initiatives for Frederick Douglass in this community was started by an organization that I founded called Fred's Army. And so everything Frederick Douglass is a part of that initiative. So I'd like to continue that. But at the end of the day, when you call my name, I want you to be able to say that she took action. She's not a person that just talks. We brought her our issues, and she brought some kind of resolution or directed us in that direction. You know, because I'm not here for glory. I'm not here to lift any sort of ambition. I'm here to serve. I've been serving. I've never stopped, even though I stepped out of public office. My doorbell rings, and the most recent one was when I was having a conversation with the spy a couple of days ago, and somebody said to me, "You remember you told me some time ago that if I ever needed help, you'd help me." I said, "Okay, I will. Let me finish this interview. I'll get right back to you." I did. And with the help of Bethel Church, I'm going to give the name, and Bobby Tate, we worked it out so that this woman's issue was taken care of right then and there. Not the next day, not in a week, not whenever they could get to it, but right then and there. So I'm happy to know that all of us, and I respect all of us who have stepped up to challenge for this role. But I believe experience counts, I believe that accountability counts, and I believe that reliability counts. And you need to know who your council people are, where they live, how they can be reached, and I'm accessible.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for a very constructive conversation, and I also want to say you are the model of civility in this dialogue. But we're not through yet because we have a few people with questions.
Craig, I know that Al introduced, but I'm going to tell you you've done a great job. Can everyone give Craig Fuller a round of applause? And now I'm going to ask him to work a lot harder, because in the interest of time, we're going to call this the speed question round.
The lightning round.
Which is a new rule that I've just made up sitting here. I think that we need to, and again, I'm open to negotiation with you only. I would say that the questions, I'll set a timer, can't be more than a minute. Does that sound okay to everybody? Thumbs up?
Or said another way, in respect to your people in line.
I know, you guys, you'll be here all night.
Ask a question and let them give the speech.
In less than a minute. Yeah. And again, I think that the answers need to be limited to 2 minutes.
Quick, yeah.
Fast.
We'll get more
and
in.
Wait, you're the referee, so you're in charge. I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes, and I would ask the council people to respect that 2 minute. When you hear the buzzer go off, let's try to make this the speed round. Is everybody good? Okay. All right. Hang on, I got to open up the timer. He's ready with his 1 minute question.
We'll catch up. Go.
My name, my name is Jay Pierce, and my question is, I'd like to hear the thoughts of the candidates on the best use for the old hospital.
Perfect. Fast. So since he's asking everybody, you're going to get 1 minute.
Frank, I see Frank.
So
First with the
there
mic.
are a few potential solutions there. Ms. Moonyene touched on one of them. I have, in fact, emailed Secretary Woods, who is the head of Veterans Affairs for the state, to see about what we can do to explore that topic. Another solution that is possible and realistic is after engaging with a community study for their participation, but looking at potentially having it be repurposed for a senior medical facility since it's already formatted for that type of business. Thank you.
Anyone else want to jump in?
Sure, I'll go along with that. Yeah, absolutely. The town definitely wants to have a say in what happens to that property. The University of Maryland has contracted with a real estate agency to sell it. And I believe we're taking a step in the right direction by asking the residents for their input in what they would like to see there. Because I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's a lot of opportunity to get it right, and there's a lot of opportunity to get it wrong. So I think we really need to get some input from the residents.
Go. Next.
No, he said everybody, right? Or just council president?
No. It's up to them. He said anybody.
Okay.
We had 2.
Okay, got it. You're going next.
I got a minute.
You got a whole minute.
I'm tough to negotiate with.
Ready? Go.
I'm freezing.
Pressure.
2 seconds. Go.
Oh, great. Okay. Anyway, I'd like to say that I've heard a lot of conversation about starter homes and that sort of thing, in for younger individuals, professionals, so they can stay here or come here. And I think that's absolutely vital, or the town would just dry up without all those people. But also on the back end of people's lives, we're talking about the seniors. The town also has to remain viable and affordable for seniors, right? And as you all know, there's a large senior population here. So here's kind of my question. And let me just preface it by saying I've lived here now 5 years, but in coming here for the last 50 years with my family every year, and prior to that as a child to go hunting at my aunt's farm on Trap, and they lived in Federalsburg. But anyway, here's a question. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, okay. Okay. The town of Easton has not raised its property values since 2009, but the rising value of our homes bring an additional revenue to the town of Easton every year. Will you, this is primarily for the chair of the town council, will you commit to working with the other members of the council to reduce the property tax rate to help taxpayers reduce their property tax bill? That's the question.
Yes, flat out, and some of those discussions at least it's been discussed. So that typically is something seen when that occurs. There's a millage for that rate to go down. We also can look at ways to increase businesses here for that type of commercial tax revenue. But senior housing is extremely, extremely important so that people who've worked here their whole life or want to move here can live with dignity. St. Mark's Village has a 7-year wait list, and that'll be cut in half soon.
Don, did you want to jump in?
Just that we have a responsibility to be fiscally responsible. And fiscally responsible doesn't just mean cutting spending. It also means not cutting tax rates when it's not a wise idea to do. And so what we really need to do is look at the budget. Our budget this year was $28 million roughly. It was $28 million last year. We really went in and went through the budget and made sure, which by the way, the budget is online, you can check it out. We went back through and we really went after it to make sure that we're not raising that property tax rate, because that's important. So I know I'm cutting off.
Thanks. Thank you. Go.
Everybody's talking about making life more affordable. Talk is nice. Our state, Democrat-controlled government just gave us the largest tax increase in history. I understand there are already plans in Easton to raise taxes and fees. Mr. Abbatiello, at a recent budget hearing, you suggested tax increase. And that would make it even more difficult for volunteer firemen to be recruited, for people to live here. Everybody's talking about making it affordable, but we're taking people's money, and then you each have ideas to then, on your schedule, to distribute it to people that you think are in need of it. Wouldn't it make more sense to not increase taxes, to let people keep their own money? Mostly this is for both Mr. Gunsallus and Mr. Abbatiello, but I'm happy for all the councilmen to comment, please.
You referred to Don, so let Don make a comment first.
So, first of all, I had numerous conversations with the mayor this year because there was some discussion about the idea of raising property taxes this year, and I said that that would be a horrible idea to do. So I'm not sure what we're referring to, but again, I want to be fiscally responsible. Fiscally responsible means that we are going to look at the budget. If we can afford to reduce taxes, great. I'm all in favor of that. But I don't think we should just automatically say we're cutting taxes. We need to also look at other revenue sources. One of the things I've been promoting is the idea of speed cameras around town, especially on Route 50, because we have a lot of people who speed through this town to go to Ocean City, and they take up a lot of our resources with police and fire for accidents, and that would be a great way for us to help raise revenue for the town without passing that burden on to the residents.
Yeah, let me pull Elmer in just so we get, you've been grappling with some of these issues on the council.
I think that we should be fiscally responsible. And the amenities that we have in the town of Easton, we want to make sure that we maintain those. And if, in fact, that we can reduce taxes, we will. But I think that we need to look at the information that we have, that we can continue what we have at this point in time and look at it periodically for the betterment of the town.
I'd like to at least touch on this real quickly. Fiscal responsibility is paramount. You're hearing that from everyone up here because we all believe that. But it's one thing to say it and it's another to do it. And through my direction, this council has done something that hasn't done in at least 30 years, and that is go line by line, every single line in a $28 million budget to be just that, responsible stewards of the town's money. And you should all be proud of the work that everyone on the current council has done.
Thanks. Why don't we, next question?
Yes, thank you.
Are the other councilmen good?
Well, I don't think we can get everybody in. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to hand this to you? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question for the current council members and the candidates for Ward 4. Between the 2019 election and the 2023 publication of the current voting ward map, Ward 4 has experienced significant cracking in the areas of Hammondtown, Federal Street, and the Londonderry Retirement Village on Port Street. And I would really like to know what occurred in Easton that required the voting balance changes, and were the residents notified?
Let's go to Ward 4 candidates first. Cameron, yeah, go ahead.
Well, one of the, look, I hit the same potholes everybody else does where I'm at. You know, we need to take care of infrastructure. We need to, and when it comes to, again, fiscal responsibility, Dawn said you can find it online. Guess what? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking, I need line by line the people of Easton to be informed and it to be, so easily accessible that they can make decisions and they can form a voice for us to hear and represent in Ward 4 specifically.
You want to go to Ward 4 boundaries? Yeah.
Now there was.
I've got a rebuttal
Yes.
to this. Cracking really refers
Yes,
to
it's a-
voting district boundaries being changed.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Okay? And we'd really like to know when this happened and who's responsible and what was the logic behind it. Why did someone feel that the voting balance needed to be changed?
Well, yeah. I mean, it raises incredibly relevant questions as to why the public was not informed of these things. these are things that change how you interact with us. And that just goes hand in hand with my communication to ward residents and my ear to the ground for that issue.
Okay, what that means, cracking, has to do with, as the speaker was saying, the change of boundaries. And what we discovered during this race is that there has been gerrymandering, all right? Let me just bring it directly to you. And that the citizens were not alerted, but we are trying to find out, because a letter was sent to the mayor and all council members, those who are sitting here now, to ask them the very question, how did some citizens, use Hammond Street, for example. Part of Hammond Street has always been in Ward 4, and now part of Hammond Street is in Ward 1. And the citizens didn't know that, and they brought their, these that I'm talking about happened to have completed applications for absentee ballots. So they brought the ballots back and said, Moonyene, your name is not on here. I don't understand. You know, I'm supposed to be in Ward 1. My neighbor right here is in Ward 1. So the question is, how did that come about? And then Londonderry retirement home is right on Port Street, where I live, at the bottom of Port Street. And that used to be in Ward 4. And now it's in Ward 3. That's inexplicable. When you are creating voting districts, they should be compact and contiguous. So I'm not understanding how this happened. And my 2 minutes, all right. But you
I think we understand there's a problem. Does anybody have enlightenment? Don?
So the best I can tell you is, obviously 2020, the census was done. In order to rebalance based on the results of the census, in order to rebalance that, rebalance the populations of the wards, some of those streets and neighborhoods were adjusted to move into other wards. This was done at in open council meetings. It was something that was discussed about by the town attorney. We shared her proposals, and it was something that the council unanimously approved several years ago as a result of the census.
Let me just add, I understand the conflicts, because if you go down Brooklets, I mean, on one side you could be in Ward 4, and the other side you could be in a whole nother ward.
3, yes.
Ward. So the census has changed, and I believe this information was provided, which changed the demographics of Ward 4, but that information is available, and I know that information has been requested, and they're working diligently on giving dates and times when that had changed.
I don't think we can dive any more deeply into this. Let's take the next question.
My question is for Cameron. Cameron, what appointed or volunteer civic positions have you held or testified about or for in the town of Easton?
I volunteer at Easton Baptist Church. I work with their that's in the town. It's right by in Japan, if any of you are wondering. And I work with their technology, their sound. I am overseeing media things for them, and the individuals under me for that process, as well as mentoring young boys and men in the Ignite ministry outreach.
Thanks.
Hi, Peter Maloney, 301 South Aurora. This question's for our president and Don running for president, as well as anybody else that wants to field it. What are we doing to plan for the future? We've heard a lot tonight about development. How are we going to pay for all the immediate and future needs, be it schools, infrastructure, public services, without passing all these new developments onto its current citizens and not onto the developers that are profiting from their business ventures in our town?
So, firstly, none of the town budget does go towards the schools, just so that's clear. But there are annual projects that occur to address the needs. Like you just seen recently that the sidewalks on Aurora Street have been redone or completed. So that is something that occurs in stages, and over several years things occur because there are different areas of town that all have different needs that have to be addressed. And yes, we'd love to have a magic wand waved and instantly remediate all that, but it does take time, and it does sometimes take studies, especially when you want to change traffic. So if we were to, for example, lower the speed limit, we would have to go through a study based on state law to be able to change that. And we do have currently a complete streets study that the council has funded to be able to look at ways to improve our infrastructure from a drivability and a walkability and accessibility perspective. So there are things underway, and that it just takes time. Sometimes it's because we are mandated to by the state.
Hey, Robert, let me pull you into this, and then we'll get Dawn in too. But you've run organizations and done strategic plans, and nobody's actually mentioned the two words comprehensive plan. That was a big issue a few years ago. But what's your take on that? How do you accomplish all that we want to accomplish in the future? How do we get it done, I guess?
That's the big always challenge. It's called, you said strategic planning, strategic management. The comprehensive plan is going to be very helpful to guide where there are recommendations for how Easton should develop. I think it's up to the council and the public, the residents, the mayor's office to review that and work with the Planning and Zoning Commission to determine how we want to implement that going forward. Certainly it's guidelines, it's recommendations. We will need to take into account all stakeholder feedback to determine how best we want to do that. The issue, though, referring to the organizations is, and it's been discussed already, and I think the gentleman was referring to it a little bit, is working with organizations, you have a budget, and the board always wants to do more with little or less than what they've been paying. And I think it's been alluded to, it's a challenge. And so it's called prioritization. It's called being strategic as to what priority you want to do. We have a tight budget, and the other thing you always hear from the client is we don't want to cut any expenses, we don't want to cut any services. And we offer great services in Easton. Easton is an amazing place for the services we provide, for the fact that we haven't raised taxes in so long. But something has to give. And so that is making very difficult decisions about prioritizing what we're going to do, what are we going to spend our money on, and how are we going to pay for that, and do we have enough money already to do that? Do we need to look at alternative ways of raising revenue? I think there are some with respect to development and some, I think it's called tax incremental financing, but there are potentially some other ways to generate revenue. Of course, there's also tax increases, but hopefully with all these units coming online and more people coming to Easton, we'll get some more property taxes. That'll be helpful. The housing assessments will also help a little bit there, but I still think we need to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I mean, that's the bottom line, and so it's about being strategic and really prioritizing what's most important.
Don, you want to add a comment?
Sure. A couple things real quick. First of all, to Mr. Maloney's question, part of the problem also is that we have several roads, obviously, that run through town that belong to the state. And so 328, 331, Route 50, just to name a few. And so we are also dependent on their timetable when it comes to improvements. Just a quick example, when I first got on the council, there was the discussion of making crosswalks, safe way to walk from the east side of 50 to the west side at Dover and Goldsboro. We are still waiting 6 years later for that. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it, though, is we're still using the same comprehensive plan from 2010. And one of the things that we need to have in the new comprehensive plan is if a developer is going to come in, they need to know up front that if there is a problem with traffic for cars, pedestrians, whatever, that they need to be informed up front that they're going to have to pay to mitigate that problem that their development's going to produce.
Thanks. Yes.
Thank you. My name's Sherry Wilcoxon. Recently, the Talbot Spy put out a video with the mayor and the participants speculating with really no facts at all, just throwing out speculations about Frank Gunsallus' campaign finances, bringing the town a lot of not civility in the comments and questions. Apparently, these two were completely in the dark, that not required by law, but that Frank Gunsallus had for 2 years filed his campaign finances with the state, following their guidelines, their 30-day window for a 1 year of financing. Don, about a week ago, you said you received about $12,000 in donations, but you didn't want to give the names of who gave you those because you wanted to protect your donors, whereas Frank was completely transparent. So my question to you is, do you think this was civil? What do you think about the new campaign financing reporting proposed by the mayor that's more restrictive than any other elected state or federal official? And do you think that it appears suspiciously timed to harm your competitor in this campaign?
Campaign financing?
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I did release the people who gave me donations. That's on there. You can go to the town, ask it. It's public record. It's on there. It also talks about my expenditures, all the money that I spent, who I spent it with. So all of that stuff's out there. So that's number one. Number two, as far as the proposal from the mayor as far on campaign finance, I think it's like any other thing that's proposed by the mayor. We all need to discuss it. We need to have a discussion because I don't necessarily agree with everything that's in there. And so I can't speak for why it came out when it did, but I think that there's definitely a need, as this election has definitely shown, things have changed. I think there's definitely a need to be transparent with where your money's coming from. People need to see that because they are giving you one of the most important things in a democracy. It's their vote. And so they need to know who they're voting for. They need to know who is supporting that person. And if you look at the people who gave me money, with the exception of a few people, like my mom, they're all found in Easton, and they're all individuals. There's no political party donation. There is no special interest donation. It's all individuals. And again, you can find that at the town office.
Frank, yeah.
So since this is about me, I would at least just like to say that it is extremely important that the town does have better transparency around campaign finances. One of the existing annual reports that is expected of the council and or at least elected officials in the town, there's a verbiage roughly about report contribution from anyone who does business with the town. So if there is a contribution from someone of any amount and they don't do business with the town, then you technically don't have to report it. I think that is shady. I think that should definitely be a loophole that's closed. And I think that everyone, elected official that is part of our government should also file their reporting with the state. I think that is part of this process for this legislation that we should also roll up under the state as well. And transparency is paramount, and without it, there's no trust. So that's why I have been voluntarily self-reporting my finances and since being elected, because I believe in good governance that much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Gates, and I live in Ward 4. My question is, what motivated two members of the same family to run for town council? Not that it's illegal, but it's a curious question. And also, this represents potential conflicts of interest as well as some type of coalition that will affect the significance of the number of voters and residents of both wards. And what is your plan to make sure that this type of action, to handle this type of situation?
Lynn, I promised to get you into this discussion. Why don't you kick it off?
Well, I was interested first, and then I asked lots of questions, and I thought, oh, I volunteer 5 days a week, I work at Harris Teeter, I go to church 3 days a week. I just don't know if I have time. But, hey, Cameron, don't you know, this is great. I think you should try this. And he thought about it, and that's how he got involved. We come down, and then Ward 2 was still not filled. We realized that he was a different ward, because as most Easton people know, you don't know what ward you're in. Very few people. Everyone in my ward that I talked to had no idea what ward they were in. I thought we were in the same ward. We lived 1 mile apart. So when I found out I was a different ward, I thought, maybe I could do this too. We do not always agree, so I don't think there will be conflict of interest, as you probably don't always agree with your mother or your daughter or your son. We are our own individuals. We don't live together. So I don't think that there's going to be a conflict at all. I don't see that in the future.
Cameron, would you like equal time on this?
Yeah, sure. She did propose to me this option. One of the reasons why I decided to run was I was actually online. I was online and I was in the comments section. It was a bad time in there. And I was like, you know, we can spend all of our time whining, or we can step up. We can become the thing that makes the change. In order to change the future, you have to disturb the present. And then along with that came homework, lots of homework, and I'm still learning as to ways to help our citizens here. Yeah, and there are so many things that we don't agree on. It makes for incredibly interesting dinner conversation right now. But there no conflict of interest there.
And you're civil.
Yes.
My name is Rich Arnold. I have a question for Mr. Gunsallus. I'm in Ward 1. In light of the fact that all the other council members, current council members, have endorsed your opponent, Don Abbatiello, which, in my opinion, is a damning condemnation of your leadership and management styles, are you tonight willing to stand up and step down from the position of, or at least not run, and yourself endorse Don Abbatiello?
Oh, Mr. Arnold, I appreciate that, but in fact that is not accurate. So Reverend Davis has not endorsed Don Abbatiello for this seat, and I would not want an endorsement from a fellow council member because I believe that that is out of bounds, and especially one of them, I would not accept it. So no, I will not be stepping down, and I will fully intend to campaign through 8 p.m. on May 6th.
Next.
Lance Simon from District 1, and kind of same question. I'm really a town council junkie. The website in Easton is so good. All of your meetings are live streamed. They're recorded. All of the minutes are there. All of the agenda. The amount of information is incredible. But as I watch the meetings, I am abhorred by the lack of cohesion in the process. And it's not just civility, it's the ability to get things done. It's the way the discussions are going and the amount of time that is being wasted on procedural conflicts. And I don't know, Mr. Gunsallus, if you can speak to this, but the others are endorsing Mr. Abbatiello. There is a reason for that, and I wonder if you could speak to what you have learned.
Sure. Well, if everyone's not aware, I have been endorsed by Sheriff Joe Gamble, State Senator Johnny Mounts, and both of our state delegates, Chris Adams and Tom Hutchinson. So I would say that I'm honored to have received that. Getting caught up in a procedural matter, well, that is part of learning government. And so we have accomplished a lot, and we have accomplished a great deal for this town in the past 2 years under my tenure, and I'm very proud of the things that we've accomplished. So as time goes on and my skills and leadership are further refined, we will only become more effective. But I do thank you for your concern and your question. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Brandy Whiting, Washington Street. I don't remember what ward I am in because, as you said. Anyway, I wanted to make a comment about the public school budget real quick. I believe there is a meeting on May 6th that's happening, so if you guys want to show up, apparently it's being very cut, so show up, make your voices heard. My question is to the current members. Affordable housing has been a big topic, and all three of you candidates are currently sitting on the council and have been for years. As you said, Frank, it's been a topic for 20 years of your life in this town. So my question is, what's going to change? What are you guys going to do to actually make it happen?
Thank you for your question. Yes. So what are we going to do? Well, we've already started having conversations about finding ways to bring in more affordable housing. One of the things that was alluded to by Maureen Curry at the last meeting was a planning session for the land around Chapel Farms neighborhood. And for that, there are going to be proposed 14 homes that would be in that affordable range. So that is one thing that's already under process. And there is, reforming our existing code and other options that I had mentioned earlier about trying to remove the upfront fees to get that cost out of the way so it is and can be more affordable, as I am also someone who is looking at that as well. So thank you for that question.
Don, she asked sitting members, so we'll go to Don and then Elmer.
Sure. Okay. So a couple of things with that. Number one, again, I think there's needs to be a big push for middle housing. Again, that would be things like townhouses, for example. I think you're also looking at different incentives for people. One of the things we have right now is a $6,000 closing cost assistance for town employees, police officers, volunteer firefighters, and utilities workers. One of the things I'd like to see us do, and I know Reverend Davis has mentioned this as well, is to up that to $10,000 because it is, as was mentioned earlier, it is very difficult for people to save that kind of money that they need in order to get out of being in a rental. So that's another option that we've been working on as well. So we have a few different ideas in mind, and of course, I don't think it's going to be one solution. It's going to be a variety of options in order to make it more affordable in the town of Easton.
Elmer.
May I say something on that?
Let's do Elmer, and then we'll come to you.
I agree with that there are a lot of options on the table. It will not be one and done. But we also need to look at the town purchasing some land and building the houses on that land. I think that's viable. And also, I believe that, upping the money for those individuals that are employees of the town, I think $10,000 is a fair closing cost to be provided by the town for individuals, and looking at middle housing a little closer.
My question was, how did you come to determine that you're going to give $6,000 to volunteers and to employees of the town? Now, I'm concerned about it. Now, we keep talking about firefighters. I'm probably the only one here that suffered a fire, February 5th, 1955, a house totally demolished, and my cousins lost their lives, and the veterans who lived upstairs, in a part of the place were displaced. But the reason is that the fire equipment was not suitable, and they did not maintain or take care of it. So I won't go into that history. My point is that yes, they have to have a fair place to live. So do the police, but so do the other citizens in this town who have to pay for their mortgages. So if you're going to give some kind of incentive, this $6,000, no, not to everybody. We need to have some type of formula to understand who gets it and why is it not spread across the the spectrum. And you say you give it to other volunteers. Well, who selects the volunteers, and how is that done? And what kind of objectivity is there? I think that we need to talk about transparency. We definitely need to understand how that works. I didn't know that that was something that had become a part of the town's tapestry until I saw it briefly. Okay, I didn't hear my ringer, so.
You got
5
seconds.
No, I'm through, but.
All right, good. You had 5 seconds.
Let's try to get
Okay, but that's okay.
Jess, here's a plea. Let's try to get one more in. We've offered each candidate a chance to make a 1 or 2 minute close, and then, don't go away. We will stay around, but we're going to hit 2 hours if I do it that way.
Is that fair? Let's say it back. Let's say it back. You're going to...
One question.
They're going to give their outlining statements. We'll take a beat, and if people want to leave, they can leave.
Exactly.
We'll let them finish their questions, so you guys are not allowed.
But that's the end of the line there.
I know, I already told him he was the end, so he's been released.
From Washington College.
All right.
Hi. Sorry. Okay, well, I'll try to keep this fast. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody who's here on this stage. I think it's really commendable, all the work that you guys have done for Easton. And I'd like to say, specifically to Cameron, it's really refreshing to see youth of a similar age to myself run for office. I think a lot of people feel youth to be a barrier to meaningful change, especially in small environments like this one, but I think it's really a catalyst to it, and I'm excited to see how you grow. And then I have a question from Mr. Abbatiello. During a recent council meeting, you advised, quote, "I'm not necessarily in favor of the inclusionary zoning ordinance as it's written. If you can't clearly say you support or oppose it, ultimately, how can voters trust you to take a stand on the biggest development policy this town has faced in decades?"
First of all, it's Mr. Abbatiello, thank you. Second, here's the deal. I am not going to support something that we haven't even gotten all the information on. I think that would be foolish on my part to say I'm gung-ho or totally opposed to something. We were still waiting on a report from the Inclusionary Zoning Commission. So in order to make a decision, you need to have all the information. And so I don't think that that's necessarily a correct statement that you made. And again, as president of the council, I would expect to get as much information as possible before making a decision. I'm sure everybody else on this panel up here would do the same.
Thank you. Let's go to this final round before we have questions. Now, we've said 2 minutes, but if you could do it between 1 and 2, that would be good. I think we'll start with Ward 2, go to Ward 4, and we'll close with the presidents. Lynn, let's start with you last.
Well, thank you for having us. And we love the Avalon. We are thankful that they have opened up the house to us. I'm thankful for everyone that came on the, if I don't make it, I support Robert. And that's the way it should be. I want us to come together as a community. I see it right now that the council is divided. And I think that is not doing us any good. I really feel like we need to work on our green space here. We need to look at different parts of housing, not just affordable housing through the government, but also sustainable neighborhoods. There was a lady that spoke on the council a couple of months ago who is disabled, and she wants to be able to walk to the grocery store because so we need to start looking outside of the box. We're very old-fashioned, and we kind of need to step into the 2025. And I just want everything to be super transparent, super accessible. Again, put it out. We need to start blasting social media, Instagram, everything. We need to know what ward we're in. We need to know what's going on in our town, who's in charge of your ward, whoever that might be, and how to get a hold of them, and not feel such a divide. So that is my goal for running for Ward 2.
Thank you. Robert.
Don't call me old-fashioned, but I prepared a statement. So I'd like to also thank the Avalon Foundation and the Talbot Spy for putting on tonight's town hall. I'd like to thank the candidates for being here. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and those streaming online. We appreciate your participation. This is my first time running for public office, and the past 4 months have been really humbling and rewarding. I've knocked on nearly 500 doors of Ward 2 residents and gotten valuable input from voters as well as support from friends who live in other parts of Easton. I'm also proud that I've run an independent and nonpartisan campaign and have not accepted donations, especially from political parties, so I do not have a political agenda here. To me, the town council should be working on issues that matter most to voters. and those are development, support for police and first responders, and being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. My approach will be centered on hard work, respect, integrity, and teamwork, and I plan to consider all perspectives on every issue that arises. I was recently made aware of a commencement speech my grandfather made in 1967. The title is The Roots of the Tree of Liberty, and the focus was on the importance of participating in local government. He stated, "The tree of liberty flourishes only when the roots of that tree are nurtured. These roots in the United States are our local and state governments. Your participation in community government demands very little, but the rewards are great. By fulfilling these responsibilities of citizenship, you will not only aid in the preservation of our federal state, but you will be maintaining the character of our American government." Since moving to Easton in 2012, I have always wanted to work more locally and with the people of Easton. It would be a privilege to do so representing Ward 2 on the Town Council. So whether you're from here or come here, we're all here now, so let's work together to keep Easton a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you, and I hope to have your vote on May 6th.
Thank you very much. Don.
Again, want to thank the Avalon and the Talbot Spy for this evening, and I also want to thank, for the last 4 months, my wife and my 2 kids who have very rarely seen me as we've been super busy campaigning. We are facing a lot of challenges as a community, and over the last 4 months of knocking on over 4,000 doors and speaking to many residents, I found we share many concerns. Whether it be overdevelopment, traffic, attainable housing, or safety, they are all legitimate concerns that need to be addressed and taken head on. We are all concerned about overdevelopment. I will work with the council to restrain growth at this difficult time and have a proven record in doing so. I'm the only council member who has voted against a planned unit development, and we can do more concerning overdevelopment. We are all concerned about attainable housing. I have 5 years working with the Affordable Housing Board, helping to fix up homes for low-income residents and to provide new homes where possible. And we can do more concerning attainable housing. We are all concerned about having a safe community. I was part of the council that made take-home cars a priority for the police department and as an important part of recruitment and retention. I've also personally responded to thousands of calls as a member of the volunteer fire department and am committed to keeping them a well-trained volunteer agency. And we can do more concerning safety. But these are not problems that are going to be solved by one person. These challenges that we face as a community are only going to be solved as a community. That means we on the council must be working together to find solutions and common ground and move beyond the unproductive and contentious town meetings. It's time to move our community forward with respect for all stakeholders and with a positive intent. It's also time to vote. My name is Don Abbatiello, and I would be honored to serve as Town Council President for our Town of Easton. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Frank.
I'd like to close by thanking the other candidates for their interest in serving the town and the hard work and dedication that each of them has demonstrated over the past few months. Thank you. I'd like to thank the moderator, the Talbot Spy, and the Avalon for hosting such a wonderful and productive event. Thank you. I'd like to thank the citizens of Easton for showing their faith in me over the past 2 years and for the future of this town. Your interest in it is extremely important to me. Thank you for that. And to my family, thank you for your support and your faith in me. Without my wife, Irina, none of this could have been possible for me to even attempt to do. She is the better half of my household, and I owe everything to her. Thank you. I believe in this town, and I believe that each of you believes in this town. That's why you're all here or via live stream watching. And I know that together we can come together, work together, create the best Easton in the world, and I know we can do it. And we do it by controlling the amount of growth in a responsible and smart way, by enhancing our public safety so that they can provide a safe environment for all of us to live in, to improve our infrastructure so we can maintain our quality of life, and to increase government accountability and transparency so there's trust. I humbly request your vote on May 6th. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Elmer.
I want to thank the Avalon Theatre and the Talbot Spy for this opportunity as I proudly represent Ward 4. I want to thank all of you that are here. I want to thank you for the opportunity just to be here tonight to speak. And as I sat here, I want to reaffirm my unwavering support for first responders, my commitment to uphold as the chairperson of the police board. I am a proud advocate for healthcare access, affordable housing initiatives, and the completion of the Easton Comprehensive Plan. All are essential to build a stronger and more vibrant community. I'm a proud representative of Ward 4. I have been in this position for the last 5 years, drawing on my 22 years of law enforcement experience and my 27 years as a pastor. I'm currently serve as the district superintendent, and these roles have taught me the importance of integrity and service and value that I bring to every decision that I make on behalf of all the individuals in Ward 4. Throughout my tenure, I have been a voice at the council table, working diligently to represent the interests with respect, partnership, and dedication. I come to tell you that Easton residents are the most resilient people in the world, and Easton is the best place to live, work, and raise your family. I come to tell you tonight that May the 6th, I'm looking for your vote. May the 6th, I'm continue to work and humbly ask for your support. Together we can build even a brighter Ward 4 and the town of Easton. I'm asking for your commitment to be a part of this great adventure that we will move forward. We can do it. We can, we will, we must. I want to see you on May the 6th. Vote for Reverend Davis.
Thank you. Cameron.
I have no theatrics, and what you see is what you get. When you stop learning, you start dying. And I want to reiterate that I have been given a back to shoulder the burdens of this town. To be there, a genuine listening ear where it seems there has been none, and to prioritize the livelihoods of these citizens. I'm humbled by this turnout. I want to thank the Avalon and the Spy and all the candidates for their time and their commitment to doing what they believe is best for Easton. And the only thing I can do is promise to be there when it matters. Thank you.
Thank you. And to close out this portion, Moonyene.
You're right. Well, first of all, I'd like to really thank the Creator for another day, another opportunity to give according to my time, talent, and ability. I'd like to thank my team. No one can run this race alone, and I have a really wonderful team that has supported me and is helping me to at least get my message out. I've already thanked the Avalon. I thank you again, and Craig, I thank you. Did I say your name right? I got it right, okay. And all of the wonderful people who've come out. This is a nonpartisan election. That means you can vote your conscience, you can vote for experience, you can vote for someone who's given decades of service to Easton and has never stopped. I don't think that it's easy for someone to fight for a community that they haven't lived the challenges of that community. I've lived them, I've supported them, and I have been resilient. And I know that the people that I serve are run a range from the lowest wages to the highest. I've had relationships across the boundaries. And make no mistake, I definitely support our first responders and our police officers and the nurses and the teachers and the wage earners, those who provide the food services, the garbage collectors. Everyone deserves a decent place to live. Everyone deserves an opportunity. So we need to have wages here that are increased, and we have to bring revenue in different ways. But the most important thing, okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay. The most important thing is for you to look in an unbiased way to those of us who actually serve. I respect everyone who has decided that they want to put their hands in the ring. But this is not a time for practice. These are very tumultuous times, and this is a time for people who look after our Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare potential losses. There are a spectrum of things that only experience can help with, and it's time for us to understand that. I thank you for the time and the opportunity, and I thank all of the candidates too, and I'm happy to have met many of you.
That is a beautiful way to close. I will say to those of you who came thinking this was a 2-hour program, we're only 2 minutes over. But as we call it into the formal part of the program, I want to thank the Avalon and the Spy. I also want to thank Team Avalon, and those are all the people who actually produce this, make us look good, sound good, and share it with thousands and thousands of people who have been streaming this and will watch it online later. I also thank everybody who came tonight, and I'd like to ask you to thank these 7 remarkable individuals who have the courage to put their name on the ballot and represent you. Thank you very much. I now think I should say at 2 hours plus that if you need to leave, feel free to leave. If you can stay,
There's a 4-question encore.
Jess and I do this all night long, and same with the candidates. But if we got 4 more quick questions. Is that what you're saying?
All right, so my name is Peter Anderson. So before I get started, I just want to thank everyone who's here for promoting our shared values of civic engagement that I'm sure everyone here can get behind, and also our town council members for making me proud to be a member of our local community. So I have a question for Mr. Abbatiello. So you've stated in the past that your leadership style is about building consensus, and over the past 2 years, it does seem that almost every piece of legislation has passed unanimously. So are you claiming that this council has failed in that mission, or are you simply inventing an issue to justify your campaign?
Okay, so I don't know if you've actually watched the council meetings, but there are issues that come up that we definitely do not agree on. There are some major issues that have come up that we definitely do not agree on. And that is fine, but at the same time, we need to be working together because we've got some serious challenges ahead of us. And building consensus to show a unified front on the council, to come to some kind of an agreement is really important. And I think it's something that we definitely need to try to do. So,
thank you. Next.
Yes, hi, Greg Zimmerman. I live in Ward 1. I'd just like to broaden the lens here a little bit and there's a lot going on internationally and nationally, and that will affect us locally as well. And I'd just like to get some understanding, especially from the for Mr. Abbatiello and Mr. Gunsallus. What are you reading? How do you understand the world that we live in? What newspapers, podcasts? How do you inform yourself about our world?
Well, thank you for that question. So I have a subscription to an app called Ground News, and it is an aggregator, and it pulls in every single news article from every single outlet that exists on the internet. I believe it's Python based, but we'll avoid talking about that. And you can look up any topic and see what every single outlet is saying. You can read stuff on the left, you can read stuff on the right, stuff in the middle, and make comparisons so you can make an objective decision as opposed to just frequenting the same outlets time after time. That is the best way to get a well-rounded view. So I read everything because I have a subscription to an app that aggregates all the different news articles from all of the different outlets that are on the internet. It's called Ground News. I would highly suggest that you guys check it out. It's pretty cool. Thank you.
Done.
So, as a school teacher, I think it's paramount that by the time the end of the school year occurs, my students have no idea what my own personal political opinions are. Because I've been in classrooms where the teacher, over the top, selling their particular ideology. So I read all different perspectives, take a look at all different sources of news, because you need to be able to educate students without trying to indoctrinate students. And so that's what I do. And so, yeah, I'm reading a lot of stuff online from various points of view, various ideologies, because it's important to give my students a well-balanced idea of what the world is, what's going on in the world. Yes.
Alrighty, Mr. Abbatiello, you put in your campaign mailer, you say that you'll put residents before political agendas, but you're a politician. If you don't have a political agenda, how can you lead?
What that means is simply this. I made a conscientious choice over a year ago to become an independent. I am not a politician. I'm a public servant. All right. I have no plans on going beyond the town of Easton. As an independent, I can't run for the county council. I'm not going to be successful running for a state legislator. I am here for the town of Easton. So I am not going to be doing a political agenda because I don't have the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, telling me, what my ideology should be. So as an independent, I'm about the town.
Thank you. I think on that we'll close. Thank you again for being with us. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Craig. We really appreciate you.